Hey everyone. Welcome to the fourth week of isolation and online classes. I have gotten loopier with each passing day, so it's going to be real interesting to see what happens in a couple of weeks. Anyway, so we have now stopped, or this week, this is the beginning of more topic based rather than kind of pushing through the human evolutionary trajectory. And the first topic I wanted to talk about was anthropology and racism. Anthropology has a really rough past. Anthropology has been used to categorize different groups of people into races and then hierarchically ordering those races as some being better than others. And a lot of this came to a head during World War II, basically, with the rise of Nazism and eugenics in particular, and the idea that you can breed a perfect race, which would be blonde hair, blue eyed, pale skin, all of those things that Hitler was looking for, even though Hitler himself had dark hair. Anyway, besides the point, um, anthropology has a rough past. And for a long time, anthropology kind of ignored that past and just kind of wanted to charge forward. And there's a much bigger push now to recognize what that past is and to be open about it and to discuss it so that we are not doomed to repeat our mistakes in the future. And so you have a number of articles that you are going to be reading for this week. One of them is actually really nice because it ties what we've been looking at, which would be human evolution and all of those different things for the past several weeks of this course. And it ties it with how racism honestly comes into play when we are interpreting the fossil record, who has access to fossils, all of those different things. And so that first article is Athrea and Ackerman. And this is a great one. So it's called Colonialism and Narratives of Human Origins in Asia and Africa. And if you remember, we talked about how there was like nationalism when it came to, primate origins or anthropoid origins. Did they originate in Asia? Did they originate in Africa? And there are like colonial and racist things that come along with that. So this article is specifically looking at human evolution and how racism plays a huge role in the way we interpret the fossil record, the way we even get access to sites, all of those things. So one thing I'll say, this is a reading heavy week. There are no exercises per se. It's reading, doing the writing prompt, and then it's participating in an online forum. But the readings are heavy and the readings are long. So you should definitely start early with this. The next reading you have is one by Dressler et al. About race and ethnicity in public health research. So this is the thing I want to say that I think is really important. Race is not biological. There's no biological significance to what one race is to the next. However, racism is biological. We are seeing more and more now that racism has real biological impacts on people who experience the detrimental effects of systemic and systematic racism. And we see this play out most prevalently in health. And so races, as they are classically defined, are not real, but racism is, and racism is causing real biological problems. So I believe the new phrase is race is not biological, but racism is. And you will see that in the Dressler article most especially. And then I gave you a real doozy, the Rushton and Templar. So this article is horrible. This article is academic racism in action, and it's only from 2012. It's not even that old, and it got published. You will read it, and I hope you are as angry as I am when you read it. So please know I am not giving you all this reading I promote this. I am giving you this reading as an example of what not to do and what still makes it through peer review and into publications. And so it's quite scary when you see those kinds of things and that this kind of stuff is still being touted and spread around. So the Athrea and Ackerman, great article. The Dressler, great article. Rushton and Templar is a horrible article, but I think a very important example for all of you to actually see. And then I gave a couple of links. One is for an article from Nature of Want to Do Better Science, Admit You're Not Objective. We have talked over and over and over again in this class about how bias impacts the way we interpret our work. And more people are becoming aware of this and incorporating this into their work, or at least trying to work very hard to recognize where their bias comes from and how it might be impacting their analysis. So I thought this was a nice way to like put a cap on a lot of the things that we've been talking about all along. So that made me happy. And then another one is about race, genetics, and pseudoscience, an explainer. So these are folks, these are excellent academics, anthropologists who talk about how people have tried to come up with genetic bases for different races and what that has meant. So that is a blog post, but I thought it did a really nice job of like tying together a lot of things we talked about. And it even covers IQ, which is pretty cool. And I know I've mentioned several times before in the past. So those are the 5 articles that I've asked you to read. I'm trying to find things that aren't in front of me. Those are the 5 articles I've asked you to read, and then there's the writing prompt to go along with it. And so looks like I have a couple more. There's also one from Sapiens. Sorry, there are 6 articles I've asked you to read. 6 articles, and there's another one about race is not real. Race is real, but it's not genetic. And this is going back to what I was saying about race is not biological, but racism absolutely is. And that's a Sapiens article. And then I gave you a bunch of podcasts about race and health. So I know a lot of you are going into some form of medical profession. And I would love for you to listen to these podcasts at your leisure over the next week. I think it's incredibly important to understand how racism impacts healthcare and healthcare decisions, because it's pervasive, and it's happening even right now with the coronavirus pandemic. We are seeing African Americans get hit disproportionately higher than other people, and it has nothing to do with pre-existing conditions or genetics or anything like that. It has to do with our system and how we treat people. So please have a listen to those podcasts. You do not have to talk about the podcast in your writing prompts. However, we are going to have a forum like we've had for the video so far. However, this is going to be a bit more of a free form forum. Say that 10 times fast. Where I'm not going to have like separate places for questions and separate places for comments, things like that. I will create a couple of writing or a couple of prompting questions, things I want to be sure you all are thinking about as you listen to the podcast and readings, to open things up for discussion. But what I would really like happen is have you all to either start your own threads or respond to my thread and get something of a meaningful conversation going. And if at any point you would like me to try to schedule some sort of class Zoom time so we can all get together and chat, I'm more than happy to do it. And I know it's tough with everybody in different time zones and we all have different draws in our attention, but this is an important topic. And so I'm very, very open to it. But it's also a heavy topic. So please, this is not going to be one that's cheerful and it's not going to be one that's fun, but it is definitely one that we all need to be talking about and be very aware of our own biases. So again, you have 6 different articles to read. 3 of them are links, and then 3 of them are PDFs that are put into the Google Drive folder. And then I have 4 different podcasts for you to listen to. They're all from the same group of people, and the same podcast called Speaking of Race. These are friends and colleagues of mine, and they're really good people. And one is What is Race? And then there's a 3-part podcast on race and health. Right. I hope you're all doing well. I know this is tough. Believe me, I would give anything to be able to be in class and have these discussions with you one-on-one in person. Take care, and please let me know if you want to meet, to chat, or something over Zoom. I am more than happy to talk with you at any point in time. Yeah, have a good week.